Good evening everybody, and welcome to another GamingAlimonda broadcast of the PSGL F1 division. And we are here tonight for round 6 of this season's championship. And tonight we are here from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. So after the confines of Monaco, we go back out into the countryside and more space to overtake for better racing. Everybody on the grid should be very happy about that. So, a quick look at the chat. Hello to Ash Best, who will be taking part in this race tonight. JPTV, good to see you as always. And PlayC, yep, thanks for the like. And yes, thanks for the good luck. I will certainly do my best to deliver an outstanding broadcast, and hopefully the racing on track will match it. So then, a quick look at the championship standings. Cliffy has a 15-point advantage to Big C, so 58 points to his 43. XJackLacey, after his second no score, drops to third and is now on 34 points. Ashbess moved up to 32 points after an excellent third place in Monaco last week. And the reigning champion Jamie remains in 5th position on 27 points with some work to do if he's going to retain his championship this season. And in terms of the Constructors' Championship, this particular PSGL season is imitating real life, as we have the Constructors' Championship being dominated by the Mercedes and Ferrari driver pairings. A 2-point gap between Mercedes and Ferrari at this point, with the other teams in the top 5 some way behind now. So we are here tonight at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 14 corners and 4.3 kilometer length. And we're going to have 35 laps of this circuit. And after Monaco, where a lot of people were breaking their wings every 5 minutes. I mean, MaxiLuca in particular had 7 pit stops. I would suspect we will see far less pit stops today. The one-stop strategy should be the dominant tactic if it is a dry race. The ultra soft runners will switch over to the softs, and then those starting outside the top 10s will probably opt to start on the super softs and then switch to the softs probably after around 18 laps on the super softs. But perhaps some might be able to stretch out the super softs long enough so that they can switch to the ultra softs for the final part of the race. The ultra softs will go quite a long way, perhaps longer than you would expect. So I'm just checking that everybody is here. So the championship leader Cliffy, this was a happy hunting ground for him last season. In his F1 debut he won the Canadian Grand Prix, so he would love to repeat that success tonight. But Big C's dominant performance at Monaco last week with that amazing pole lap which effectively won him the race overall has really put him back into contention to win an 8th PSGL F1 title. But Cliffy is the man to beat at the moment. 15 points, a very healthy gap at this stage of the season. Can you believe it? Next week we're already halfway through the season when we visit Azerbaijan for the sort of tight confines of Baku. Although nothing like Monaco. We'll see plenty of overtaking on that massive straight at the end of the lap. So then, countdown is underway. So it looks like we've got 19 drivers out there today. Just going to see who is not here. It looks like it might be Remco again. Indeed it is. So Remco once again not racing. So that's a shame. But 19 drivers. Should be a very competitive all the way from the top to bottom. I was in practice with some of these drivers earlier on. The qualifying session in particular was extremely tight. So hopefully we will have another session like that. The usual 12-minute qualifying session then, followed by a 50% race. 35 laps in total. So let's just wait for this to load up. Thanks to all those who have joined so far. A good evening to Onto the Podium and Lewis, or Louis. Haven't called you Lewis in a while. I hope your revision is going well. And yes, I am going solo again, JP. Unfortunately, I got in very, very late from some business I had to take care of today, so I didn't really have time to message anybody, but that's okay. Had a few issues with my microphone earlier on, but they appear to be resolved now, thankfully. And as Louis mentioned in the chat, Cliffy is indeed very quick around here. He'll be one of the favourites for the pole position. Pole time will be somewhere, I reckon, 1/10 flat, or perhaps a few tenths in the nines. But I don't think there'll be much time between the top 5, maybe even the top 10. So 14 corners on this track, 3 chicanes. The last one in particular are really tricky to get right. We could see a lot of penalties out there today. Very easy to invalidate your laps and get warnings during the race. As we see Nick Pine leave the pits, just Greeny is already out, so we'll probably stick with him for the first flying lap. Greeny's had some mixed results so far this season. Just going to have a quick look to see what he's done. So he had a 7th place in Malaysia, a non-finish in Australia, then a 6th place in Brazil, then a superb podium in Austria, and then 8th place in Monaco last week. Had to make several pit stops due to broken wings, but he certainly has the speed to challenge for the podium today. But he's not the only one I can describe that of. Quite a lot of the drivers coming out. I am going to try and find out if it is a dry race. Oh, and Ash has just mentioned it in the chat. Thank you very much. So yes, dry quali and then a wet to dry race. So that could very well mix it up. It'll be interesting to see if some of the drivers opt to go for a wet setup, or just try and stick out there for dry setup and wait for the rain to go. Transition period, of course, could be very crucial. Getting that wrong or right could decide the outcome of the race. One of the shortest pit lanes on the Canada, so drivers won't be spending any more than 20 seconds in the pit lane. It's usually more like between 16 to 18 seconds, depending on the speed of your pit group. So we're going to stick with Greeny for now. 19.6 for the first sector. Now, Canada, I find, especially from doing my career mode, that Canada's track evolution is one of the most dramatic. I've seen like huge improvements at the end of a session in short qualifying from myself, even though I'm not the quickest driver going. So let alone the F1 drivers, who will certainly be able to find, if they nail the lap, a lot of time right at the end of the session. Given that the out lap doesn't take long, of course, a little over a minute to get a lap done. So Greeny goes through the final chicane then. So let's see, what's he going to set as a benchmark as he heads to the line? And it is a 1:10.582. So that's a decent benchmark, but I do suspect we will see plenty of drivers beating that. Ash Best back into the pits, so he must have been validated. Just see if there's anyone else about to complete a lap. Yes, here's Nick Pine. He crosses the line, 4 tenths away. Now what about Jamie? Jamie goes into the final chicane. Paudie puts it up into 4th. Now where does Jamie end up? Only good enough for 5th, so disappointing lap from him. Now let's go on board with the 7-time PSGL F1 champion. Rides up through the chicane, moves up through the gears, top speed. One of the most typical pit entries on the Canada. You're at full speed. If you get your braking wrong slightly, a penalty is guaranteed. There is no room for error when you judge your braking for that pit lane during the race. I suspect a few drivers squirm with the back end from Big C. So where will he end up? Big C, provisional, 1:10.535. Skeevan with a pretty decent time, putting up further now. Oogie in 4th. Lewis in 5th, who had a solid 4th place in his F1 debut last week at Monaco. He'll be one to look out for, the reigning F2 champion. Now, XJackLacey was on the lap. Let's just try and get on board with him. He is indeed. So XJackLacey had a very strong start to the season. He's one of only 2 drivers who's had 3 podiums in 3 successive races, Cliffy being the other. He got 2nd, 3rd and 2nd in the first 3 races of the season, and then followed it up with 2 non-scores, including a non-finish at Monaco last week. So he'll be really looking back to get some form. Sort of goes on the grass a bit. I'm not sure, this looks like he's coming back to the pits. He's not going particularly fast. And yeah, he must have invalidated. So 12 drivers setting time so far. Well, HELLBOY with a very slow lap, 5.5 seconds down, so he must have come across somewhere. Big C edges the time a bit faster. Oh, but Little Blocks with a 1/10 almost flat. So that's laid down a little marker to the rest. So a really good time from the Haas driver. And oh, HELLBOY gets the chicane all wrong. Narrowly avoids the Wall of Champions. He's going to reverse and try and go back into the pits, but he'll risk a disqualification doing that. Well, spins the car up. Will he get back into the pits? Well, that's one way of doing it. Well, you might think I'm a bit... Oh, and yeah, HELLBOY disqualified for blocking the pit. Oh dear. Well, that's embarrassing for the Williams driver, frankly. So he will start from the back of the grid. So he'll have some work to do, but he should give us some fun from the back of the grid. So it looks like Big C is already out on another run, unless this is his in-lap. So let's just see what he does. He's already done 2 laps though, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's going for a 3rd run. And yeah, looking at the time, he's definitely coming back into the pits. So hopefully enjoyed that little bit of comedy from HELLBOY, but we have had to feel sorry for him. Got it completely wrong chicane, but he should have just kept going. There was plenty of time to come back and get another set of tyres. He's just ruined his own session. But I can understand why he tried it. Strict can be quite harsh when you do things like that. So Pine on our lap, he's currently in 8th position, most of the top 10 in the pits. Ash Best, he's quite notable for not setting a fast time yet. Oh, but this is the time for Ash Best now. He goes to the line and he sticks it in 4th, and well, that was an interesting line. Going to try and get back to the pits, I guess. He took an interesting line there. Good thing no one was coming out of the pits. Nick Pine carries on. So he is currently in 9th position. Ashbest knocking him down a place. That Lordyboy, is he on the lap at the moment? I will switch back to Pine shortly. Lordyboy might have just invalidated his lap there. Gets a second time at 19.7, but I did see the clock to the stop as he went through that first chicane. Let's switch back to Pine because he is at the hairpin. So Greeny currently in 5th. Pretty tight top 5, less than half a second between the top 6, exactly in fact. So Little Blocks to set a pretty difficult time to beat, but there's probably at least 3 or 4 drivers who can. And well, I'm surprised I forgot about him, but actually very notable from his absence from the top 10 at the moment is Cliffy, the championship leader. He didn't set any time in the opening runs, so he's just come out for an outlap. So where is Pine comes in? What about Lordyboy? Is he going to complete a lap? Yes, he does. He's heading towards the line now, and it's a 1:12, and yeah, invalidation. So I think we'll go on board with Cliffy. Yeah, Cliffy starts the lap then. Goes late on the brakes, you want to keep a tight apex as possible. And then the first chicane, which I think, I don't know if anyone else is the same, but in my opinion this is the hardest one to judge. A lot of people say it's the final chicane, but I actually find the first chicane the hardest to get right. It's the easiest to cut and get invalidation, that is for sure. Now Cliffy, he's got to get this right, you know, because if he gets it wrong, he's not going to have time to get back to the pits and change his tyres. So let's see then. Cliffy heading down towards turn 10, the hairpin. He's already gone through the DRS activation zone, which was just out of turn 9. opens up the wing, activates there, onto the back straight. And to answer Game Freaker's question, yeah, the Williams livery will probably be white. So Cliffy hits the line then. What's this going to be for him? And he's into the nines. The first driver into the nines. A 1:09.977. Just over a tenth quicker than Little Blocks. So Cliffy underlying his speed at this track. But there is some track evolution still to come. So there is still a chance for other drivers to beat the time. Little Blocks being one of them. So Toro Rosso up ahead. Big C on his outlap. Who else is out there? AMS currently in 4th. So is AMS validated? Let's see. AMS goes through the final chicane. Oh, nearly hits the wall of champions. He heads to the line and he moves up to 3rd. So he's above Big C. But what about Little Blocks? He's on. Well, Little Blocks is building up for another lap. He must have been validated somewhere. Now Cliffy, is he going for another run? No, he can't be. So Cliffy might be building up for one more lap. Big C is through the opening section of corners. Now who else is on a flying lap? Greeny and Ashbest have come out, so they will get one run right at the death. Skeevan heads through the opening section. Ooh, back end sliding all over the place. That's not going to do his traction any good. Oh, and Skeevan, oh, he taps the wall, and that's probably compromised his sector 1 immediately. Yeah, nearly in the 20s and over a tenth slower than his best. So Skeevan's going to have to do a mighty final couple of sectors to get anywhere near. I think any chance of a pole is gone for him. Big C heads to the hairpin. AMS, is he going another lap or is he coming back into the pits? AMS goes through the final corner, heads to the line. This won't be good enough, so I think he's going for one more lap perhaps. So Big C on the back straight. There's a lot of traffic ahead. Hope they get out of the way. Oh no. Oh, the hand put up by Big C. That Red Bull, I don't know who that was. Nick Pine. And Big C goes slightly quicker, but Big C massively compromised there. So Big C will not get pole. That, to be honest, wasn't great driving by the Red Bull driver. The 7-time champion will be absolutely furious about that. Cliffy's run out of fuel, so he's not getting any faster. Little Blocks has taken it for now. 1:09.807. Sorry I missed his time, but just seeing what was going on with Big C. Just after Big C completed that failed attempt to get pole position, Little Blocks takes it. Is anyone else out there? Ash Best, Greeny, both round the hairpin, so let's keep an eye on them. They can still make some moves up towards the front row, maybe in pole position. We will see Pine, then Greeny. Oogie finishes his session. Big C's dropped down to 6th. XJackLacey takes 5th away from him. So Ashbest taps the wall. How good will this be? Ashbest crosses the line. Doesn't improve. What about Greeny, the Sauber driver? Doesn't improve either. So we've got Aaron and Paudie who are still on flying laps. Can they improve at all? MaxiLuca gets into the top 10. Aaron, can he snatch a sensational pole right at the death? No, it's just 12th place. So Little Blocks takes his, I believe, his first ever F1 pole position. I might be wrong about that. Lewis puts it onto the front row and Cliffy in 3rd. So I think Cliffy will be happy with that because his nearest rival will be 3 places further away from him. But look at that, very close qualifying. Lewis not quite finding enough to get pole position, but he'll be very happy with the front row for the wet start for the race. Oh, turn 1. It's going to be very interesting. What a sensational session for the Haas team. And certainly with Little Blocks and Lewis, we could definitely see them make a late charge in the constructors. They're in 3rd. Wait, I'm just going to look at the table. So Haas are actually in 7th place at the moment, but if they can convert these qualifying performances, which they recently have been very strong in, into results, they can certainly challenge Ferrari and Mercedes later on in the season. Because there's still plenty of racing to go. Another 8 races, including this one. So that is the end of qualifying. A very fascinating session. Looks like a lot of mixture of dry and wet setups out there, because I think there was some time some drivers could have had. So Little Box takes pole position, his teammate Lewis alongside him, Cliffy in third, AMS in fourth, JackLacey in fifth, Big C in sixth, Ash Best in seventh, Greeny in eighth, MaxiLuca in ninth, Skeevan in 10th. A decent result for him. Oogie in 11th, Irin in 12th, and I ran out of time. Blimey. They don't give you enough time to read those names out, do they? I believe Jamie was outside the top 10 as well. And whoa, very heavy, looks like heavy rain. Yeah, heavy rain. So we got 4 wets for the start of this race. Jamie in 15th place, the reigning champion, so he's got a lot of work to do. We'll have to look out for HELLBOY at the back, who got disqualified, and then Joel in 18th place. It's going to be all about the turn 1 between the two Haas teammates. Will they give each other space, or will there be some aggression? The Haas team will have their hearts in their mouths. They don't want to see any shenanigans at the start, which could ruin a great result for them. But Big C and JackLacey on row 3, that's another interesting potential squabble, as is Ash Best, Greeny and MaxiLuca all within earshot of each other. So then, we have the 5 red lights. Watch for the 2 Haas cars. Lights out and away we go. Very short run down to turn 1. It's a decent start from both Haas cars. Ash Best will, Little Blocks will have the inside, but Lewis will go around the outside with better traction and take the lead of this race. But Little Box will come back at him and try and fight back. So can he? No. Better traction from Lewis. So a brilliant start from Lewis to take the lead of this race. So let's have a look, see if is everyone going to get through. Oh, and Big C. And we got yellows in sector 1 already. Looks like Paudie's dropping down the order. Big C, we know he hasn't performed that well in some wet races in the past. He's dropped down to 7th behind Greeny. Cliffy maintains 3rd position. And JackLacey is now going to try and put AMS under pressure, the Red Bull driver. So then let's go back to the front. Lewis, Little Blocks, Cliffy, top 3. So a relatively clean start, although it looks like Oogie has had an unfortunate incident at the back. And look, at the back, Big C has been overtaken by MaxiLuca. He is struggling for traction. You'll be hoping this good weather disappears to dry as quickly as possible, but given how heavy the rain is, it's going to be a while before we see fully dry conditions, I would have thought. So let's go back to the front. Lewis getting a slight advantage to Lickle, who will now be under pressure from the current championship leader. And a good start from the McLarens. And hello to you, Frome. Good to see you. We've got Lordyboy, JD and Nick Pine in the pits, and I suspect that's for some wing changes. Yeah, multiple wing changes. So plenty of running to go in this 35 lap race. So let's go down the order a little bit. JackLacey still putting AMS under pressure. Greeny, MaxiLuca, Big C forming a mini train of Ash Best. Ash Best didn't have the best start by the looks of it. So let's have a look. Who are the winners and losers? HELLBOY made 7 places up at the start. Joel made 5. So excellent starts for them. And I just saw someone go over turn 8 and 9. Might have got a penalty just then. I don't know who that was. So Lewis has nearly a second advantage to Little Blocks. And Cliffy attempting to get into the slipstream. Goes out of the spray for a moment just so he can judge his braking point as we enter the start of the 3rd lap of this race. Little Box not getting a good exit. Will he be under pressure from Cliffy as we go into turn 1? Cliffy doesn't go for a move, neither does JackLacey. Greeny will soon be catching these two. And look at this, Skeevan challenging Ash Best for 9th place. They bang wheels. Ash Best with the better traction out of turn 2 holds position for now. Oh, and Skeevan risking it a little bit there on the grass. You don't want to do that with the rain like this. Irin, the point grabber, he will relish any opportunity to get a point if someone stacks it ahead of him. So there's a bit of a gap from 11th to HELLBOY, 3 seconds behind him. So let's go back to the front then. Cliffy still trying to put the Haas driver under pressure. What about AMS? AMS still holding off xJackLacey, and MaxiLuca has just passed Greeny for 6th place. So Mercedes at the moment getting a good haul of points. No penalties I've seen so far on screen, so good effort from all the drivers so far. So Big C currently in 8th position. Once again, when it rains, he just doesn't have the same type of pace that he does show in the dry. Little Block sets the fastest lap, so he's keeping Lewis honest. Haas on for a superb result at the moment. So Cliffy just biding his time, trying to force the less experienced Little Blocks into a mistake. Little Blocks doing a decent job so far. Little Blocks last week, a superb start to take Big C at turn 1, and Big C gets a 3-second penalty just to add to his problems. Joel hits, so is that a wing change for Joel? Yes, it is indeed. So an early pit stop for Joel. No sign of the rain easing up at the moment. So the top 3, nearly a 3-second gap to AMS. xJackLacey unable to get past at this stage. Any other battles going? It looks like Ash Best is very close to Big C, so this looks like the closest on-track battle at the moment. So let's see what happens here. But look at that, Skeevan on the outside, challenging again. This could be a free and better. Oh, and Ash Best taps the side of the Ferrari, and he spun him. He spun him. Well, that was a clumsy move from Ash Best. He just got his braking completely wrong, and Big C has dropped out of the points. Oh dear, it could not have gone worse for him these first 4 laps. Or indeed the whole session. He got blocked in his final run in qualifying, and now he's dropping right down the order. And look at this, HELLBOY dives down the inside of Iran, and he's in the points. Got disqualified in qualifying, but Iran's going to try and come back at him. But what an outstanding first 4 laps from HELLBOY from the back of the grid. And Cliffy gets a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, Big C will not be happy about that incident, but yeah, fair play to HELLBOY. He had a disastrous qualifying, which ended in embarrassing fashion, but now he's in the points. And, speaking of Williams, JD currently in 18th position. He had to make a first lap pit stop for a wing change, who must have been caught in some contact in the midfield at the start. Yes, Game Freaker makes a good point. Should Ash give the place back? Yes, technically, but in F1 that doesn't often happen. And, Ash Best lost the place to Skeevan. So Skeevan's been showing decent pace in the rain, you know, to be as quick as Ash Best and passing him like that. But yeah, Ash Best, I don't think Ash Best was actually going for a move. He wasn't shaping up for a move to me. I think he just literally got the braking wrong. And we have early pit stops. Is this intermediate? Well, the rain does look like it's eased off, so let's just see what Lewis is doing. Is this a change to the intermediate tyres? It is indeed. So the rain's easing off very quickly. Cliffy pits as well. And Big C pits as well, so quite a lot of pit stops going on then, as you can see. Now this could be very interesting. But those who have pitted might get stuck behind wet runners, so Little Block staying out a lap longer could benefit him if it isn't quite ready for inters at this stage. So it's quite a lot of standing water still, so I think it's touch and go whether it's good for the inters, but in terms of the rain falling it does look inters, but the spray and the standing water can take a while to clear. So Lewis comes out in 7th. And Cliffy comes out in 9th position behind Iran. So let's just see what Little Blocks is up to. He's got a 5-second gap to MaxiLuca. So let's see what Little Blocks does. And Lordyboy appears to have just overtaken Nick Klein for 14th place on the tracker. So Little Blocks slows down very cautiously. Now what about Lewis? Let's see. Well, looks like the Inter runners will have the undercut. So I think Little Blocks might come out behind Cliffy to be honest with you. He did slow down quite early. Yeah, I think Cliffy will jump him. Little box comes out of the pits now. Oh, this is going to be very close. Oh, very close indeed. And that was an outstanding exit from Little Blocks. Absolutely outstanding. He nailed that and got out in front of Cliffy. Was the favourite to jump ahead of him, but Little Blocks just like a bat out of hell maintains second place. But Cliffy, he's not going to wait. He's got the tyres up to temperature complete. Little Blocks goes down the inside, switches back. Little Blocks has some defending to do as his teammate begins to charge off into the distance. And Cliffy looking for a move around the outside, surely not to turn 8 and 9. Very difficult to go around the outside there. And he's going to keep pushing pressure on now. The next opportunity will be at the hairpin at turn 10. Cliffy shaping up a move, he's going late on the brakes. And can he get this done? Who's going to get the better traction as they come up towards what would be the DRS? Obviously not activated at this stage. Oh, Cliffy goes onto the grass, and that's going to allow Little Blocks to come back at him. This is outstanding racing at the moment. Hopefully I haven't just cursed them. They're going to come a cropper at the final chicane as we begin lap 8. Cliffy down the inside, and he will take the position for now. So Cliffy up to second place. Brilliant move from him, and a great little battle between those two. That exit from Little Blocks was absolutely brilliant. That's what kicked that battle off. I don't think Cliffy expected Little Blocks to come out the pits like that, but he dealt with it. Now, can he chase Lewis down? That's going to be the big question. So MaxiLuca off his pit stops in a very solid 4th place. AMS in 5th. xJackLacey in 6th. Big C at the moment is in 13th place. Yeah, 13th place behind Paudie. Everybody's pitted now for Inters, I believe. I don't think there's any other runners out there. So this is a disaster for the Ferrari team in the Constructors' Championship. Both their cars 13th and 14th. 8 PSGL F1 titles between them, and they are miles off at the moment. But when we get dry running later on, they could come back into it. But I think any chance they had of getting on the podium, very unlikely at this stage. So let's go down the race order. Lewis leads from Cliffy, Little Blocks, MaxiLuca, AMS, xJackLacey, Skeevan, HELLBOY, Ashbess and Greeny making up the top 10. So let's have a look, see if there's any battles going on. I think Cliffy's edging away from Little Blocks, to be honest, so we're going to see what else is going on. What about Skeevan in 7th place at the moment? Oh, this is a battle. And, well, there's someone on wet tyres still, xJackLacey. Well, surely that's probably a graphical glitch, and they banged wheels going into the final chicane. Did Skeevan get any damage? No, I don't think so. 3-second penalty for Greeny. But xJackLacey can't be on the wet still. Well, he is apparently. So is JD. Well, I'm very surprised about that. I'd imagine that's a graphical glitch because it definitely looks into conditions now. But I don't know, the way Skeevan's pressuring him, maybe he is on the wets. Skeevan looks for a move down the inside. He'll have better grip if xJackLacey is on the wets. But, Skeevan, I saw a bit of wing go up, so he might have just chipped off a little bit of his end plate. That's unfortunate. Skeevan looks for a move around the outside into 8 and 9. Yeah, virtually impossible, and he'll have to give the place back. Or will he? No. Wow. He really cut the corner just then. He would have got a warning for that. So, yeah, not a bit of a naughty move, to be honest. It's pretty much impossible to go around the outside in that corner if someone's already got the inside without cutting the corner. So, well, fair enough. Skeevan's like, yep, thanks for the place, mate. And xJackLacey, if he is on the wets, I really don't understand why he didn't pit when everyone else did. So fastest laps then, so we will get dry running soon. But maybe xJackLacey has figured, well, I'll stay out and wait for the dry conditions. But the trouble is, if they don't get the dry weather they need, they're just going to tumble right out of the points. There's another runner on the wets at the moment, and that's JD. It's kind of a worthy gamble, but I'm not sure it's the tactic to do. Now HELLBOY, Ashbess and Greeny, they're quite close to each other. Now this could be an interesting scrap. Oh, xJackLacey's lost it up ahead. And he's definitely stayed out too long on those wets. He's been overtaken by HELLBOY, who's now up to 7th. And Ash Best dives down the inside, and Nick Pines left the session. I think he's had enough. And XJackLacey, well, this gamble has clearly not paid off. He's now been overtaken left, right and centre. XJackLacey will try and fight back against Greeny, but he just doesn't have the grip. No grip at all. And Iran is probably going to make easy work of the Force India driver. Well, he went for a certain tactic. In some situations it can work, but in this case it's definitely not working. I don't think it's a glitch. I think XJackLacey is definitely on the wets at this stage. And, well, if he has any sense, he'll pit at this point, but he's going to be well down the order. So Iran, ever the opportunist, into the points thanks to XJackLacey's problem. Let's see if XJackLacey pits. And indeed he does. So that promotes Paudie up to 11, and the 2 Ferraris. Now Jamie has in the past been sensational on the wet, but we've not seen any of that from him today. But he had to have a wing change in his pit stop, I'm not sure. So the main battle on track, although Little Blocks is close to Cliffy, but I think there's more likely to be some action between these 3. I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, Cliffy's got him sort of covered at the moment. Little Blocks gets a 3-second time penalty through 8 and 9, so that's not good for him. So HELLBOY in 7th place certainly has had an incredible drive. 12 places gained. He started in 19th, don't forget. So if he finishes in 7th, that is a brilliant effort from the Williams driver. They're in a little squabble with Renault and Toro Rosso to avoid the wooden spoon. Renault on 13 points, Toro Rosso on 12, and Williams on 11th. So Williams could get off the bottom if HELLBOY could get ahead of Skeevan. So gap hasn't really closed between the top 2. Lewis 2.6 seconds ahead of Cliffy. That's just gone up to 2.8 after the end of this lap. Lap 12 then of this 35 lap PSGL F1 Canadian Grand Prix. And thanks everyone who has joined to watch this. I think we've seen probably more action in 12 laps than we saw last week, although to be fair we saw quite a lot of good overtakes surprisingly, especially that move from Lewis on AMS I believe it was. So looks like Ash Best has a little bit more speed in the intermediate conditions. He's closing on HELLBOY, but HELLBOY's straight line speed looks pretty good. That's what's keeping him ahead. Now Greeny is dropped back, so that trio's become a duo. So Jamie's right on the back of Big C, so I might have a little look at them. I just want to see how HELLBOY handles this hairpin, see if Ash Best can get any closer. McLaren driver finished in 3rd place last week at Monaco. So let me know what your initial impressions of the race is in the chat. I think the Haas team have really done well so far. Cliffy sets the fastest lap, and he took 3/10 out of Lewis on that lap. So perhaps as the weather dries out. Oh, and HELLBOY narrowly misses the wall of champions, gets away with it. Don't think that any damage done there. Right, so I'm gonna, after they go through sector 1, I'm gonna have a quick look at Jamie, because I think he might be closing in on Big C. I'm gonna stick with this in case something happens for at least another lap, because this is the closest battle on track at the moment. HELLBOY slips wide. Oh, he goes onto the curbs, gets away with it. McLaren driver certainly looks in the mood to get this move done. A bit more composure at the moment from the person in 8th place. We're kind of playing the waiting game at the moment to the interconditions, and something's happened to Greeny. Yellow's in sector 1. And a little battle now between JD's out of the race. I'll see what happens in it. So a little battle between Iran and Greeny for 9th place. Greeny really struggling. He was on the back of Ash Best and HELLBOY, that little group, but now I'm just going to have a quick look at JD. What's happened to JD? JD has retired in sector 1. So Aaron right on the back of Greeny. So this is a nice little battle. Greeny goes defensive, the Sauber driver. Up ahead you can see Ash Bess is really closed in. No, HELLBOY. For some reason I thought there were 3 cars, but I might be wrong about that. Skeevan in a solid 6th place at the moment. He's not near anyone. He's not being caught by anyone either. So I think he'd be happy with that result if he gets it. He's had mixed season so far, shall we say. A really good 4th place in Malaysia, which could have been perhaps a win, arguably. But he hasn't scored in the last 2 races, so this would be a decent return to form for him. What's happened to Greeny? Greeny's now dropped down to 13th place, and he's lost half his wing. I wonder if Greeny, I call it a day, he's not having a great time out there. That is Nick Pine's Red Bull, which is being lapped. So Nick Pine, 2nd retirement. So only 2 retirements so far. Very treacherous conditions out there. Now what about XJackLacey? We saw his wet tyre gamble fail spectacularly, but now he's closing in onto the back of Joel. Greeny's now down to 13th place. So that's the ghosting Red Bull ahead now. Can XJackLacey make a move on Joel into the first corner? For now, but XJackLacey clearly looks the quicker driver at this stage, but you must be wondering where the next points are going to come from. He made a brilliant start to this season, but the 3 races after that have been nothing short of a disaster, including this one. So we're going to stick with this one. Force India driver gets better traction. Big C, another time penalty. He's closing the gap to Paudie, just under 2 seconds now. It's quite big gaps. Oh, and now XJackLacey, he's got just a little gap. He managed to work it. Goes late on the brakes. Joel gives him the space, runs wide, and XJackLacey will comfortably get the move. Can Joel come back at him? Let's see. Has he got the straight line speed to at least attempt to regain 14th place? Nice little scrap in the lower midfield. Joel will pit. The rain is easing off. You can see size of the droplets on the screen. I think the rain will be stopping soon. Let's see what Joel goes on, just out of interest. Oh, he's gone onto the softs. I'm not sure it's time for that yet, but let's see how he goes pace-wise. I guess he's got nothing to lose to do that at this point. I just want to see the first couple of corners on him. Oh my, it's the squirming tyres. I think the rain has stopped though. 3-second penalty for Aaron. Joel, oh, he's going so slow. Oh no, it's definitely not time yet. It's nearly time, a few laps, but the spray needs to be cleared. Still a bit of standing water out there. But yeah, that's definitely not paid out. So Lewis has had his lead cut down to under 2 seconds now. So as it gets drier, the race is beginning to come to Cliffy in the battle for the victory today. Let's not forget, Cliffy in his first ever F1 race in PSGL won the Canadian Grand Prix last season, and he's looking to do it again. And Big C pits. So what's Big C gone for? Greeny pits as well. 3-second penalty for super softs for Big C. The DRS hasn't been activated yet. Yellow's in sector 3. It's Joel. he's off the track. Well, he definitely did a lap too soon, but I guess it was a gamble worth doing. And now Ash Best goes on the grass. We just switched to him, and he was lucky to get away with wing damage there. HELLBOY doing a good job holding Ash Best off. So let's just have a look, see what tyres they've gone on to. So super softs for Big C, Greeny and Oogie and Lordyboy. So we've got 5 dry runners. There is a dry line forming now, but we will soon see if they've made the right choice. They start rapidly catching people. 3-second time penalty for MaxiLuca. So are any of the leaders going to pit yet? Because the decisions they make in the next few minutes could well decide the outcome of this race. It's now 1.4 second gap between the top 2. You can still see there's spray on the tyres. The Big C is dropping further behind. You can see on the timing screen to XJackLacey. And with the track still being damp, the super soft tyres will not work that well until it's a lot drier, and not just drying off the softs, I mean even more than that. They'll be able to go to the end on those tyres, but not if they slide all over the place and destroy them. So 1.3 second gap now between the top 2. Lewis goes very wide at the hairpin, and that's not going to do his traction any good. Another 3-second time penalty. Greeny going to just have a quick look at Big C. How are they doing? Big C, there is a dry line. He's trying to get through there. Conditions are improving, but now it's less, and Cliffy pits. So Lewis has done an extra lap, and this is Little Blocks pits as well, and this is the moment. This is the moment then. Has Cliffy got it spot on, or has he got it wrong? Has Lewis stayed out 1 lap too soon? I tell you what, I think Cliffy might have got it spot on. The DRS has still not been activated by race control, but if it activates right now, then I think Cliffy might have just given himself the victory of this race. He's got to get a move on and get those tyres up to temperature if he possibly can. So, flurry of pit stops now, and I do think Lewis has got it wrong, because look at the gap, it is tumbling. It is absolutely tumbling. Lewis goes through the hairpin. He's losing a lot of time. It's now under 15 seconds. Lewis has desperately got to get to the pits. Everybody except him is on dry tyres now. Ultra softs for AMS, that's a call. Should be able to get them to the end just about with a bit of time management. Skeevan gets a 3-second time penalty. So Lewis pits. Where is Cliffy? There he is. There he is. So Lewis will pit for dry tyres, but I think he's got it wrong. And they put the tyres on. It's super softs for Lewis. But look at Cliffy. He's already passed the start-finish line. And Greeny's retired. But where is Lewis? And he comes out, and he's behind him. Cliffy takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Yeah, Greeny has retired in 17th place. Had enough for the day. Cliffy gets a 3-second time penalty though straight away, and that could put it back into Lewis's hands. Cliffy's got to get a move on, try and make that gap. So I think Cliffy already got a penalty earlier on in the race, and Ash Best pits again. Apparently there was contact with HELLBOY, and he's dropped out of the points. So Big C, the 2 Ferraris, back in the points. But Jamie has jumped Big C during the pit stops. Yeah, well, to be fair, Ash Best, you've got to slow right down with that pit stop, otherwise you get a penalty. So you should have given him more space, if that is the case. I'd always give another driver space if we're both entering the pit lane at the same time. Just my opinion. So AMS on the Ultra Softs. Can he do anything about Skeevan, who's in a brilliant 5th right now? Lordyboy, now it's dry, now everyone's up to speed. The penalties are really ranking up now. Lewis sets the fastest lap of the race, 2.5 seconds. MaxiLuca goes faster. Can he give chase to Little Blocks? It's a really good result for Haas and the Mercedes team at the moment. Aaron in 8th place, HELLBOY in 7th. There's quite a few gaps out there. think we're about to see some decent midfield battles. There's quite a few gaps in the top 10, but they will settle down and we will see who the quickest really is. Lap 21, we're going to get no more pit stops now unless there's wing damage. Everyone's going to be pushing to the absolute limit all the way to the flag now. And I tell you what, if the race finishes as it is, Cliffy is going to be taking an iron grip on this F1 championship as we head to Baku next week. His third win of the season, unless he gets more penalties, looks a near certainty. But look at that, Lewis goes quicker, and I tell you what, he's closed the gap to 2 seconds. It was about 2.8 after they pitted, but he's really on a charge, making those super softs work better. But if Lewis had pitted at the same time as Cliffy, he would still be leading this race. But that decision to stay out an extra lap could prove very costly. But Haas are on for a double podium, so shouldn't be too disheartened, and he's closed it. 1.8 seconds now. I wonder. No, he's got fuel, so he's not fuel saving. All about Lewis's fuel situation. He has about the same amount. Put it in lean mix at the moment as they go. Yeah, he has more fuel to play with. So yeah, now it's 1.7 the gap, so we could still see a battle for the lead of this race. This is the close battle. Big C though is close onto the back of Jamie, so let's switch to the battle for 9th place. This should be an interesting little squabble. Look at that, Cliffy and Lewis exchanging fastest laps. Of course, as the track gets drier and drier, as more heat goes down, more rubber's put down, those fastest laps will just continue to tumble. It's now 1.4 second gap between Lewis. Lewis is, don't know where he's got this from, but he's on an inspired run of laps at the moment to try and close and retake the lead from Cliffy. And Jamie runs wide, almost hits the world champions, but gets away with it. But if Lewis keeps up this rate, and now he's taken another 2/10 out of him. Well, this could be an epic battle for the win of this race. I will switch back to it. But to be honest, this is the closest battle on track. But XJackLacey, having got it all wrong with that gamble, he could still get some points, and he'll be desperate to get anything, just anything, to end that bad run of form, having not scored in the last 2 races, because I think Jamie is really struggling now. Big C, now that the rain is gone, is showing more of his pace. He'll be hoping that there's many more dry races and wet races in the future races, because once again didn't quite have the performance. Obviously not helped by that accidental nudge by Ash Best into the hairpin earlier in the race, which really set him back. So the gap between Cliffy and Lewis is stabilised, just over a second between the top 2. Oh, and Jamie loses the back end now, off the curbs, and that should give Big C a real opportunity. But what about, well, a bit of a graphical glitch there. Jamie lets him go, and round the outside goes XJackLacey, and Jamie has lost 2 places in the space of 2 or 3 corners and falls out of the points. Bad luck for the reigning PSGL F1 champion. But I'm going to switch now to Lewis, who's nearly in DRS range, tantalisingly close. And a brilliant exit out the chicane, lap 25, and he's in DRS range now. Another penalty for Lordyboy. So Lewis, he got the strategy wrong when the track dried out, but can he regain the lead? And a 3-second time penalty for Lewis. Cliffy has one as well. When I get the chance, I will check the penalties of the top 2, but I may just let it go and let the action speak for itself. Cliffy just keeping out of DRS range. He's done a good job in Sector 1 and Sector 2 just to sort of ease the pressure a little bit. XJackLacey, meanwhile, has really closed in on Big C. So let's just have a quick look at those two. They're the closest two battles on track. And Joel is right on the back of Lordyboy. Oh, Big C! Rear end taps the wall. That could have ended in disaster. These two are both closing up on Iran as well. So it could be a very tasty little battle for 8th place. So Cliffy has he got the wing open? No, he hasn't got the wing open. They've left Little Blocks in 3rd place, but Little Blocks has a very comfortable advantage to MaxiLuca. Nearly 6.2 seconds behind. So at the moment, Lewis kind of in the dirty air of the Mercedes ahead of him. I mean, he rapidly caught up on him. Hasn't been able to get any closer. HELLBOY picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think at this, almost lost count of the number of penalties we're getting. Looks like Joel is having a nice scrap with Lordyboy, so let's have a quick look at those two. So Joel was the first to pit for the dry tyres. It didn't really help him, he's still well down the order. So this is more a battle for pride. Lordyboy doesn't get the best exit out of the chicane though, and that's going to allow Joel to really close in the gap. He switches to the inside, he goes very brave. Lordyboy is forced off the track. They are furiously going hammer and tong for nothing really in terms of points. That looks a bit personal. Joel takes 16th place, 15th place rather, away from Lordyboy. Lordyboy was not going to give that up. I think they could be going at it until the end of the race. So then let's go back to the front. Lap 27. Gap's just sort of stuck at a second at the moment. So the closest battle on track is between XJackLacey and Big C and Iran. Lordyboy gets a time penalty, and I think Lordyboy has gone back down the past. Oh, something's happened between Lordyboy and Joe. I think they might have come into contact at turns 8 and 9. Unfortunately, did not see that. And now Big C having a little look at Iran. Well, this is a real vintage trio we've got here. And XJackLacey, well, it looked like Big C just slowed down and allowed oh, Lordyboy's out of the race. And yet Lordyboy, he's lost it at sector 1. I think he's just ended his race out of frustration. The gap between Cliffy and Lewis is about the same as it is, but again Lewis just can't penetrate that dirty air, which if it sounds wrong, I apologise. And Joel has called it a day as well. So I think what happened in the end, they just sort of smashed each other off the track, not on purpose, but they just battled each other to a finish, quite literally. And now Lewis is a bit closer this time. Can he close in on the braking on the hairpin and really get a toe on that Mercedes? And once they get through the next lap, I will see what Iran is up to. Again, on the DRS, very similar straight line speeds, and that allows Cliffy to maintain the lead. So we'll switch back to Iran, who's now defending from XJackLacey, who's had a really up and down race, it has to be said. Got it all wrong with the call for the wet tyres early on. But now he's got a chance to get 8th position. Goes later on the brakes, round the outside, through the hairpin. And now XJackLacey squeezed slightly by Iran, but they're going to go side by side, at least for a moment. Iran had slightly superior traction. If anything happens between these two, Big C will gobble up 2 places and say thank you very much. So XJackLacey, who gets the better run out of the final chicane? It's fairly even. Did that allow Big C to get any closer? No, he's sort of backed off for now. XJackLacey, he'll go around the outside, then try and get the inside for turn 2. Iran sees that coming, using all his experience, cuts the apex off. and maintains the position. But now JackLacey has a slight half chance. He dives onto the brakes into the first chicane and he takes the position. That's a fantastic move from JackLacey, and now Aaron is under all sorts of pressure from his good friend Big C. 10 PSGL F1 crowns between them. So JackLacey, well, he's 16 seconds behind HELLBOY, so I think 8th is the best he's going to manage at this point. So Big C, perhaps he thought oh, and once again Big C slows down, lets Jamie pass, perhaps because he's got so many penalties. Sees no point in holding him up, but yeah. Well, Big C is going to be well behind Cliffy at the end of this race. Right then, so we will switch back to the battle for the lead, which is probably still maintained as it is. Lewis seems to be superior in sectors 1 and 2, closes in as he is now. As soon as they get to this back straight, and Big C pits. An utterly miserable race from hero to zero in the literal term. He goes on the ultra softs. So Big C is probably going to go for the consolation prize of the fastest lap at this stage. The winner of the Monaco Grand Prix last week, now almost about to be lapped by the two race leaders. And with the ultra soft tyres, he should be able to get away now. So yeah, quite a few pit stops because of the different mixed conditions. Big C's already taken Paudie to 13th place. I think he'll rapidly catch up to Oogie, so that'll be a nice little scrap to look forward to if there's time. But on those ultra softs at this stage, he should have red hot pace. Now I'm going to just quickly check the penalties between the top two. So Cliffy, penalty early on, another penalty there, so he's got 6 seconds at least. Lewis has only one penalty, so as long as Lewis doesn't get another penalty, he is on course for his first PSGL F1 win. Perhaps that's why he's got to keep it together. I know the penalties are not always accurate. He's just unable to close in on the straights. Now what about Jamie? He's sort of closing in on Aaron still. Big C has taken a chunk of time out of Oogie already. So I will be switching to the battle for a lowly 12th very shortly. But Cliffy, he got the strategy spot on in terms of the track. But that second penalty he got just after he went onto the dry tyres could prove so costly. But not in terms of his championship though. He's going to massively extend his championship lead because everybody close to him in the championship are having a real off day, because his 4 closest contenders, Big C, JackLacey, Ash Best, Jamie, he's outscoring all of them regardless of where he finishes. Just have a quick look at Little Blocks. I think he's had a fine performance today for Haas. Couldn't get the result that his qualifying deserved in Monaco last week, but he's on for a very strong result this evening. His second podium of the season. And Big C has retired, so he's out of the race, and he's lost it at the Wall of Champions. It has claimed the 7-time champion, and that is an ignominious end to what has been an absolutely terrible race. Apparently Lewis just got another penalty. I didn't see that on my screen. I'm guessing because it mixed up with Big C's retirement, so I didn't see that flash up. But if that's the case, the win for Cliffy is back on, but I'm not going to check them again. We're going to let these last laps play out and see what happens. So we've had 6 retirements from this race, only 13 finishes at this stage. Closest on-track battle is this one, and between Aaron and Jamie for 9th place. I'm going to stick with this one. We've seen a lot of overtaking action, especially in the wets, and some drivers have not dealt with the pressure. But Cliffy may be getting away with it here, because I think Lewis Cliffy has picked up another penalty. I think in his attempt to take the lead of the race, he may well be kicking himself. But we still got 2 more laps of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Cliffy leads, Lewis second, Lil Blocks third. Let's mention the rest of the top 10. MaxiLuca on for a solid 4th place at the moment, assuming he has not picked up too many penalties. Skeevan in 5th place, AMS in 6th, HELLBOY in 7th, one of the drives of the day if he finishes in 7th place from the back of the grid. XJackLacey in 8th, he's had a topsy-turvy race, it has to be mentioned. And Aaron, as ever, on course to pick up some points, seems to always get those points. He really is a scavenger when it comes to those points, and he'll be delighted with yet another point score. I'm just having a look, and yes, you look at Aaron's record, he scored points in every single race. I believe now, so Cliffy and Aaron, if it finishes like this, will be the only 2 drivers remaining on the grid who have scored points at every single race. But oh, Lewis getting really close to the wall of champions. He's going to try maybe some almighty banzai in the final lap, because he has to. If they've got equal amounts of penalties, he has to pass Cliffy on track to win this race. Final lap then on the PSGL F1 Canadian Grand Prix. Cliffy, the championship leader, on course to extend his championship lead. It's less than half a second now between the top 2. Cliffy just needs to hold it together. Has Lewis got one more magic trick up the sleeve of that Haas car to win this race? They go through turns 8, turn 9, up through the gears again as they hit the DRS marker, which will be activated. It's within a second. Around the hairpin they go for the last time. Cliffy gets a good traction out of the corner, doesn't spin up the tyres, and that should be it in terms of the on track, unless we've seen a penalty that we haven't seen. I think Lewis, he knows it, that he can't possibly challenge. So then, who's going to win this race then as they cross the line? Cliffy comes out of the final chicane for the last time, and who wins this race? And Cliffy takes the Canadian Grand Prix victory, his 3rd win of the season after Brazil and Austria, and extends his championship lead. Lewis, his 1st podium in F1. Little Blocks, a superb 3rd place. And MaxiLuca, more good points for Mercedes. It was only 2 points between Mercedes and Ferrari going into this race, but they're going to massively extend their lead. And Haas may well be contenders for the Constructors' Championship if they keep results up like this. So MaxiLuca, AMS, he takes 4th away from MaxiLuca in the end by less than a second thanks to penalties. HELLBOY takes 7th. XJackLacey, and there is a, I don't know what's going on behind. Yeah, Ash Best right on the back of Jamie as they go into the final corner, and they're going to go to the line for the final point. Will this be decided on penalties? Jamie crosses the line and Ash Best takes the final point, and Jamie goes up to 8th. So XJackLacey fell out of the points completely. What happened to him? We must have had penalties, so XJackLacey was in the points, but he's fallen out. Wow. So XJackLacey, that's his 3rd race in a row he's failed to score points. Unbelievable. Rear ring damage. I'm not sure you can get rear ring damage. So we will have a look at the podium, and there he is then. It's becoming a bit familiar, this. The silver suit of Cliffy on the podium, and that's his 4th podium in a row. 3 of them have been victories, and he takes a commanding lead of the PSGL F1 Championship after 6 races. And a great day for Haas as well, as they get a 2-3 finish here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So there you have it, your final result then. And boy, look at all those penalties. Cliffy takes the win, Lewis in 2nd, Little Blocks in 3rd, AMS in 4th, MaxiLuca in 5th, Skeevan in 6th, HELLBOY in 7th, a great drive from him. Jamie from 15th to 8th as well, that should be mentioned. 9th for Aaron, Ash Best takes the final points, but disappointing days for Oogie, XJackLacey and Big C among them. So we will have the interviews, so I hope you enjoyed that. There was certainly more action there than there was in Monaco last week. Of course there would be, but certainly some of the drivers on the grid, a lot to think about for Baku next week. But what a position Cliffy finds himself in. Big C and xJackLacey failing to score. Ashbest only 1 point. So let's get them in. One moment, guys. If you haven't done so already, leave a like if you enjoyed that. Alright, let's get the little blocks. So I need Lewis. I'll invite him anyway. Right then, so we are joined by the race winner for... Whose microphone is echoing?
Sorry.
Thank you. Few technical issues there. So we are joined by the race winner for the PSGL F1 Canadian Grand Prix, and it's that man again, Cliffy, taking a commanding lead of the championship. So Cliffy, your initial thoughts on that race that just took place?
It was a pretty good race. Obviously at the start I had to get past Nickel, obviously with it being wet. I already knew I had an advantage to Big C, who qualified quite low down, so that was always going to be in my favour. But from that point on, even if I finished third, as long as I beat Big C, that was sort of my main objective. So I'm just happy I got the win and managed to extend that gap at the top.
Yes, and you picked up 6 seconds of penalties. Were you aware at all of Lewis, who had less penalties until late on in the race?
No, I actually thought, because I looked back on the last lap down the DRS back straight and I actually saw him weaving. So I thought, oh, he's obviously got either one penalty or no penalty. So I did think at that point that I'd lost the race. But even if I did come second and he won, I wouldn't have been fussed, because obviously seeing Big C retire, you know, I've taken a massive lead in the championship, which is what I'm really focusing on at the minute.
Yeah, and did you think the race was won when you were probably surprised to see Lewis didn't pit when everyone else did for the dry tyres?
Yeah, kinda, because I saw that Nickel of his teammate pit as well, so I don't know whether he wanted maybe the first pit stops to try and maybe undercut me, who, you know, thought maybe I was going to carry on, but obviously saw me pit as well. But Louis definitely closed down the gap quite quick. You know, quite quick. I wasn't actually expecting him to close the gap as quick as he did, but when he got to gap to, I think, like a second or just under a second, I sort of wanted to keep him obviously out of DRS, but I just couldn't. But luckily, the setup that I'm running, the exits I've got, kept him behind. So yeah, I'm just thankful that I got the setup right.
Yeah. Now, I don't think Lewis is going to join us, but congratulations to him on his second place, his first in PSGL F1, the reigning F2 champion. We are joined here by Little Blocks, who scored his second podium of the season after a really good qualifying. Little Blocks, are you slightly disappointed you didn't convert the pole position into the race win today?
Kind of, but did what was best for the team, because I knew Lewis was going to be quicker. So when he went around my outside lap 1, I just told him go, and hopefully I can hold Cliffy up and you can pull away. Yeah, kind of happy with the podium, but second of one.
Yes, and one thing I will mention is that you probably had the battle of the race with Cliffy. You made this amazing exit from the pit lane, which gave you a chance to get ahead of Cliffy. But so that probably decided your battle there in terms of finishing in the top 2. But how was that battle for you? Was that good fun?
Yeah, it was good fun. Only battle I really had in the race, and kind of enjoyed it, but kind of focusing on the podium more than battling. So I didn't want to like get taken out, as I need most of the points I can get at the moment to move up the standings in the championship.
Yes, well, in terms of the standings, you'll certainly move up at least a place, so it's good times for the Haas team. So do you think the Haas team, if they keep getting results like this, can threaten Mercedes for the Constructors' Championship and Ferrari?
I've got a feeling Mercedes are a bit too far away, but if Ferrari keep having poor races like today, then who knows? Me and Lewis could hopefully catch the Ferraris.
Excellent. Right, well, congratulations to both of you. And next week, the PSGL F1 grid heads to Azerbaijan to go around the streets of Baku for what should be another dramatic race in this season. But Cliffy takes a commanding lead of the championship, and he is truly the man to beat this season. Thanks for watching, everybody, and see you next time.